fois n'est pas coutume, je parlerai en anglais. So sorry for my accent. I'm what you call a real Sint-Maartener with a real Sint-Maartener accent. Has protocol been established? Yes? Malaika? Well, if not, too late. Many thanks for coming out tonight. When I was preparing this afternoon, this speech, it was raining, it was pouring, and I was saying lots of people will not be able to come out because of the rain. And then I thought, you know, business owners, they have that vein, they had that flow into them that despite rain, despite thunder, despite tropical storm, they will reach where they have to reach. And I'm very happy that you made it, that you brave all the elements to be here tonight with us. Many thanks to all. I mostly think that it's the guava berry that makes some of you come out. N'est-ce pas, Mr. Ortega? But I think it's what really pushed me to be here also tonight. And the first thing I asked when I arrived, so where's my guava berry? So happy guava berry to everyone. We profit of this occasion to start Christmas before Christmas. In the chamber, we've created what we call Bushti Networking. Bushti Networking, it's a program that we have where we present, we do conferences, debates with different business owners. And when Malaika proposed to us to do this event jointly with the Dutch side on the evening, well, those who know me know that I don't drink bush tea a Friday night. So she had to come up with something, some idea, and she came up with the idea of the GUAVABERRY Networking. So this is my glass, I'm gonna look for it. You see it, never too far from my guava berry. Cheers to our first GUAVABERRY Networking tonight. (1599) was the year of the creation of the first Chamber of Commerce worldwide. And it was a French town that saw the creation of the first Chamber of Commerce, Marseille. 1768 was the year of the creation of the first Chamber of Commerce in the United States, almost 200 years later. 2009 is the creation of our little baby, 10 years, the Chamber of Commerce of Sint-Maarten, French side. So today we have launched, this morning we launched the festivities for our 10th anniversary, the anniversary of the Chamber as we know it today. That means 3 chambers in one. We have trade, 2,372, commerce, 6,049, agriculture, 39 businesses registered in Sint-Maarten, French side. Total 8,460. We didn't do it for spite. We really didn't do it on purpose, but it's 4,860 according to the figures that Luciana gave us at the end of the month of September. And you know what? Well, we are very happy to launch these festivities with the Dutch side because I think it was long due that we greet our counterpart of the Dutch side, and we see how business go over there. How much time have I heard that business is better on the Dutch side, that the economy is more flourishing, on the French side that should learn from the Dutch side? How much time have I heard that the grass is greener over there, the next side of this fence? And how much time have I have to explain to people that this is not a business competition. because we all consider ourselves as Sint-Maarteners, as one island, as one business. So, in order to explain that notion, we had to break down some walls, some mentalities, some prejudgment, and we decided to build some bridges. And tonight, one of the bridge is this GUAVABERRY Network meeting. Tonight is the first of many bridges where we will show, and I really want that to happen, we will show that business can be done on both sides of the island with fluidity, transparency, when we put our heads together. And for that, I would like to thank Mr. Ortega and his team for making this possible tonight. Mr. Ortega, Mr. Baker, and the elected members of the Dutch side, many thanks for making this happen. You can... I would like to ask Mr. Ortega to join me for a few words. Merci.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. I said good evening, everyone. All right, to know that the GUAVABERRY has not hit its home as yet. As Madam President said, indeed, it is an honor for us to be here, the first of many collaborations showing our true sentiment of O Sweet Sint-Maarten. They caught me a little bit, surprised this afternoon, because I wasn't really planning to give any long speech. Now, those of you that know me, I normally don't write my speeches out, but I say for this one, I'm gonna try to not swing it too much by the heart. I would like to thank, of course, everyone for coming out, the Chamber of Commerce of my counterparts and colleagues of the French side, Madam President, as I said before, and of course, those that have made on the Dutch side possible for me to stand here today. A warm welcome if we have any heads of state here, the dignitaries, of course. Now this year, the Dutch side of the Chamber of Commerce, we set out a certain amount of goals every year to achieve. This year, and nothing is a coincidence, but this year, our main goal was the goal of inclusion. Inclusion in various ways. Let me just give my translation of inclusion. The definition of inclusion is the act of including someone or something as part of a group, list, or a person or thing that is included. The action or state of including or of being included within a group or structure. Now I'm going to give the definition of partnership. An association of two or more people or entities coming together and acting as one, partners. Now, O Sweet Sint-Maarten, an island in the Western Leeward region administered jointly by French and by Dutch. Only a border marking or sign indicates the crossing over these two countries in one. Now, you all have to bear with me a little bit with the next part, as it refers to a famous speech given to many Europeans in Berlin by JFK, John F. Kennedy. The speech reflects the separation of Berlin between the communists and what JFK considered to be the free world. Now, everyone knows that famous saying, "Ich bin ein Berliner." Now, if we seek or have some sort of imagination what I'm trying to say here tonight, we can possibly see some sort of comparisons between our French and our Dutch borders, yet keeping in consideration of us calling each other's brothers and sisters. This O Sweet Sint-Maarten land coming together here at this GUAVABERRY event. We show that we are not separated. Definitely not. In more ways than one. Doing business on both sides of the island, respecting and understanding our laws. On both sides of the island, understanding and contributing to the improvement of doing business and having good business activities. For this I say, doing business on both sides of Sint-Maarten, je suis un Sint-Maartenaar. I am a Sint-Maartenaar. Ik ben een Nederlander van Sint-Maarten. Thank you very much. Madam President.
So, President, that means that at the repeat edition, you have to say a few words in Dutch. We have a few weeks to work on it. Now that you've been greeted by both presidents, we're going to get into the meat of the matter, which is the presentations by both chambers. This evening, you're going to be explained how to do business on Sint-Maarten, Sint-Maarten. So we have two speakers here this evening. We have the pleasure of having Mr. Anastasio Baker. Come. He's like, do I come now? Do I not? This is Friday night, though. I find that you all are very quiet, and maybe we need to serve another round of guavaberry. We need to relax. This is a networking session. So Mr. Anastasio Baker of the Dutch Chamber of Commerce. And then it gives me great pleasure to call Luciana Raspail, just so you can see who's going to be speaking to you this evening. There are a lot more women at the chamber on the front side. Just saying. And that's your family? Oh, wow. Okay, so here I have the Dutch side and the front side, who are both going to be presenting for you this evening. The Dutch chamber being our guest over here. Mr. Baker, you can do the honors.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this first edition of the GUAVABERRY event. But now that we're all here and we are comfortable, because I know I am comfortable, because I had 2 shots of guavaberry already, this is not the last event. We already scheduled the second event, which is on November 8th on the Dutch side, because we only had a certain amount of seating available, and both chambers basically reached their cap within a short amount of time. So we will be having a second event on November 8th on the Dutch side, right before St. Martin's Day. So some of you that probably just want to come again, you're most welcome to do so. Okay. Great. My colleague who actually had to give this presentation fell ill today, so I just am filling in for her as the director. So please bear with me. But again, everything is self-explanatory. I will go through it slowly. However, the plan is to send you all persons that register, we will send you the presentation, so you have the information with you. Because I can talk as much as I want, but if you don't grasp the information, then tonight is a waste of time. So we'll be sending you the information. Now, this is just a breakdown of the Chamber of Commerce. Again, it's a trade registry of St. Maarten, which is Dutch St. Maarten, and all businesses on the Dutch side are regulated by law to be registered. This was established in 1979, and of course, our aim is to create sustainable business environment on St. Maarten. For persons that would like to open a sole proprietorship, meaning bond Dutch, where we call Dutch is also the former Netherlands Antilles, they can open basically a sole proprietorship. But seeing that this event is more into how French persons or person that holds a French passport or person that have a Dutch passport but living on the French side, the other slides are more for you. Now, for those persons that are looking at a sole proprietorship, the main thing that one of the most important things when coming to the chamber to open any type of business, please have at least 3 names for your business. Why? The chamber on the Dutch side does its own name check, meaning that we will check in our registry to see if your name is already been taken or if someone else's name is close to yours. Why? We've experienced that a lot of persons that have a close name, it tend to have some type of conflict sometime, because let's say if you are, let's say Palm Tree Catering, but then we have Palm Tree Junior Catering. What Palm Tree Junior Catering will do sometime is market his business or her business as if it was Palm Tree Catering. So then we'll notice that customers are looking for this particular business, but come to you. So based on that, we are very strict with the name check. Meaning, if your name is anywhere close to someone else's business, we tend to reject that name. And then that's why we ask you to provide 3 different names, because then we will do the name check for the second part, the second name. Again, this is just for persons that opening a sole proprietorship. So let me just go on to this one. This is a very important slide right here. It doesn't say much, but after I explain it to you, you will understand that it's very important. All persons at the chamber are encouraged to actually open an account. You can log on to our website, which is www.chamberofcommerce.sx, and you can actually create an account. With this account, you can do a lot. Right now, you can do changes to your business. You can do updates to your business. You can actually request excerpts, everything via our website. But the main part of it is for you to first be registered at our portal. We call it a portal. And once you're in the portal, you're like in our system. Now, incorporating an NV or BV. Most persons that have a French passport must go through the notary in order to open a business on the Dutch side. There's no way around that. But this slide basically says foreign, meaning, let's say if you're French with a local address, with local residency, that can go 2 ways. It's otherwise you are, for instance, a French passport, but you also live on the Dutch side, or you can have a French passport with basically local residency. This particular side applies to you. What is very important to take away from this particular slide is that once more, you will be required to go through a notary, and you must have this one here. This is very important. A business license. The business license you get that from the economic affairs. But again, we'll go a little bit more into detail on that particular activity during one of our next slides. So just to go through it, what you need: a valid passport, your profession, meaning what do you do? What do you do as business? Your resume. This one is very important, and we actually take it very seriously. Basically a certificate of good conduct, meaning a police record from the area that you live in. So if you're living on the front side, we would then need a police record from the front side. A copy of a valid resident permit or a application for renewal. Census registration, no older than 6 months. And last but not least, the most important is the business license. Now, this one is if you have a French passport and living on the French side. And then this particular slide is extremely important for you. Again, what is required? A valid passport, your profession, a resume, a police record from on the French side, the business license, which you will apply for on the Dutch side at the economical affairs, and 2 of the following documents, which is basically just to prove your address. We're looking at a lease agreement, taxes paid, a utility bill, or salary earned. Now, when doing business, when opening any type of business, especially a BV or ND or NV, a application of declaration of source must be provided to the notaries, meaning the notaries want to know how are you making your money. So then you have to check off one of the above mentioned here. Is otherwise your salary, business income, dividends, interest, gifts, pocket money, bank loan, or other. So you have to provide to the notaries exactly where is the money coming from that you are about to start up this particular business with. Now, once opening a business on the dot side, and we're more focusing on the NV or BV, this is done by the notary, the deed of incorporation. So, but again, like I mentioned, all of this will be done at the notary for you. So we're just walking you through the steps that you should know, but the main idea is all of these steps are done by the notary for you. So they would incorporate your company. They would send us at Chamber of Commerce all your information, which we will process for the notary and send it back to the notary. What we've been having a lot of is persons that are doing this, because for some reason for the past 6 months we had a good bit of French companies doing business on the dot side. But then what they would do is contact the chamber asking about their business. Again, the notary is doing that. So basically we'd have to go now file and say, okay, listen, no, it's already been approved, your name has been approved, however, your full package will be given to you by the notary that you basically start your business at. But that doesn't mean that once the notary starts your business that you don't have a relationship with the Chamber of Commerce. Just in the initial, just a startup is when you don't have to come to the Chamber of Commerce. Once you're an existing business and you're doing business on the dot side, then the next year you will then come directly to the chamber to pay your yearly dues, or have to act, or if you would like to ask any particular questions, you can always come to the chamber. So you don't have to go back to the notary. The notary is like a one-time deal. Next, business license, director's license, and again, it says here, if applicable, because not all business owners actually require the business license. I'm sorry, the director's license. And lastly, of course, a valid passport. Now, this is one of our important slides, the Department of Economic and Licenses. Now, all of our requests, or all of your requests for business license will be sent or must be done at the Department of Economical Licenses. They will let you know if your business idea, they would approve it or disapprove it. The Chamber of Commerce would not do that part. We just basically research your name and make sure that everything, what is sent to us, is in good order. But once you pass this hill, for lack of a better word, once you pass this hill and you're approved, or your business license is approved, then it's all downhill from there. Mind you, it's not a difficult process, and this process takes in total, if all goes well, I would say about 2 to 3 weeks. If everyone is basically on top of what everyone has to do, it would take about 2 to 3 weeks. Again, we will send this presentation to you, all of you, so you have all of these information at hand. Well, what do you need? Basically a letter addressing to the Minister of TIAT. It should be in English. Try to get it. If you can't do it in English, try your best to have someone or basically write it for you. The next point, you have Inspector of Taxes questionnaire or crib number declaration, a valid colored ID or passport, and a copy of the census registration form. This is just extra. A copy of the diploma or certificate. I know on the French side, because we are becoming very close, so we're looking at each other's systems, And I know on the front side, you are basically almost everything that you do, you will need a certificate or diploma. And that is not the case on the dot side, because for instance, a hairdresser on the dot side doesn't need to be a specialist in that. However, I understood on the front side, you do need a diploma to conduct certain such activities. So on the dot side, you don't really need that, but again, if you do have it, it's a plus. Your exact home or mailing address and your telephone number. We just put this in to basically give an idea of how the fees look. So let's look at the business license one, because this is which is the NV or the BV. We are looking at approximately 150 guilders, which is about $83. That is a non-refundable fee. That's just your processing to government to start your paperwork. So that's $83.33. And then the 1,550 guilders for your business license, which is approximately $861.11. That is paid to government right once you get your license. And that will be paid to them each year. Also goes for the director's license. SZV, which is our social health. Good. Once you complete these process, what we're giving you right now is the steps to follow right after. So you have to go to the tax office, you have to go to SZV, you have to go to tax office, SZV. We also have one more. It'll come up. But anyhow, back to this. NV or BV Foundation, of course, you need a Chamber of Commerce excerpt. And this is already when you're already established. No later than 6 months. You have the Inspector of Taxes statement that includes your crib number. Again, this is already when you're established. These are the steps that we encourage you to do. So once you get your business license in your hand, it's not like you celebrate and you go open up your business and you start doing business. You have to register your companies at the tax office and SZV, especially for your employees. Oh, and labor as well. Good. And a copy of your, you do need, of course, your passport for it. Now, Department of Labor. So you can turn on those lights. The lights are really hot. He's like really killing me. No? Okay. Okay, it's not a guavaberry, it's just hot. Okay. Yeah, right? Okay, the Department of Labor Affairs and Social Services. Statute of the businesses, a valid business license, a valid director's license. Again, this is just when you just get your business license, you have to register at the Labor Department. And again, these are the steps. So again, we will be sending the presentation round. And if you have any other questions, we will do that during the networking or the question and answer event. But again, I don't want to just read all of them because you will get this particular information. And short, sweet, because we have a time limit, it's only 20 minutes. But ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the dot side presentation. It was straight to the point. Anything that you have to ask, it should be in this presentation. But again, we'll be around to answer any particular questions and answers that you might have. So thank you for having us. And yes, indeed, we will be having part 2 November 8th. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. There will be a Q&A session after the presentation from the French side. Pour mes compatriotes francophones, ça va? Vous suivez? Très bien. Donc nous allons passer à la deuxième partie des présentations avec Madame Luciana Raspail, donc qui est responsable administrative et appui aux entreprises. So now we're going to go to the second half of the presentations. with Ms. Luciana Raspai, Administrative and Business Support Manager. We're getting there with our titles in English. This is all part of the collaboration between the French and the Dutch side.
Thank you, Malaika. Bonsoir à tous. Bonsoir à tous. Mais c'est mieux, c'est mieux. Good evening, everyone. As Malaika mentioned, my name is Luciana Raspai. I'm a little bit stressed, so I think I probably should have had a guavaberry shot before, but I'll do that after. So I am Luciana Raspai, and I am the Administrative and Business Support Director at the Chamber. This evening, I was asked, of course, to tell you guys how to do business on the French side of the island. I would like to thank, of course, Mr. Baker, my family, for his presentation, and I do hope that you all got a lot of information on how to do business on the Dutch side. Before I go into depth of the subject of my presentation this evening, would just like to do another presentation of the CCISM, though our President Angel gave you some information, but it's good to give you more information. The Chamber was created in 2009, and it's a public establishment, and as the President mentioned, we exercise the mission of 3 chambers: the Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber of Trade, and the Chamber of Agriculture. For those of you who may know, in the national level, actually, you have 3 distinctive chambers. Our particularity in Sint-Maarten, we have the mission of the 3 chambers. Our missions, of course, is represent the business community, which total approximately 8,000 businesses to this date, and defend their interests to the local, national, and European public authorities. Also promote and participate in the economic development and the attractivity of our territory, and also accompany the entrepreneurs in all steps of their business life cycle. How does the Chamber function? Well, of course, we have an elected board composed of 24 members. All are business owners, and I wanted to also mention that in my presentation that they are all volunteers. So there are no compensation for the members, the elected members. So again, they do it for the love of the business community. So I think they deserve a round of applause. And of course, to handle the daily operation of the Chamber, we have a dynamic staff, which is composed of 8 wonderful and young, dynamic members. Now going straight into business, doing business on the French side. Of course, in order to comply with the many laws surrounding businesses, registration is mandatory to operate legally. As opposed to the Dutch side, the CCISM, the chamber, the French chamber, is the main registration office for businesses, meaning that you must go through us in order to be able to operate legally. However, the registry can differ accordingly to your operations activity, and I will give you some example as to what I mean by that, and also the legal form of your business. Just to give an example why the registry will differ: in the event you want to operate a liberal activity as a sole proprietorship, we will redirect you to the Social Security Registration Office. If you want to operate a commercial activity, of course, it will be us, a trade activity, an agricultural activity, we will be the one to register you. If you want to open a law firm, we are not competent for that legal form, and we will also direct you to the courthouse in Guadeloupe for your registration. So it all depends on your operation activity and the legal form that you choose to operate your activity. However, the chamber remains your main office for all your information, so you have to come to the chamber in order to get all your information in order for you to operate legally on the island, on the French side. And as I mentioned just now, in order to operate certain activities, As opposed to the that side, the chamber, we have a responsibility to ensure that whatever activity you're going to operate, if it's a regulated activity, that you have the proper documents, qualification in order to operate that activity. So therefore, when you come at the chamber, before you register, we are also going to verify if your activity is a regulated one. So for certain trade or commercial activities, it will require professional qualification or certain authorization. As Mr. Baker precised just now, I'm going to give an example of activity, hair salon, which is a regulated activity. In order to operate that, you must have a diploma in that field. And also will precise a European diploma. For those, for persons that have a Netherlands diploma, you have a French institution actually who is in charge of validating if your diploma would be eligible for that activity. So again, hence the reason why it's important that you come to the chamber so we can explain you, give you all that information. So if your activity requires professional qualification, it can be justified by a diploma or by a professional work experience. It has to be minimum 3 years, and that work experience needs to be on a European territory. So again, I am sorry to say that if you have operated a hair salon on the Dutch side, it will not be eligible for, unfortunately, it would not be eligible for your registration on the French side. But that's just one activity. There's plenty other activities. And if your activity requires a specific authorization, you will have to request by the governmental department the authorization in order to operate. Just to give you an example of regulated activity, after Irma, we had a pool of entrepreneurs who wanted to register for construction. That is a regulated activity. You need the diplomas or professional experience, as I mentioned, hair salon, mechanic, taxi. To operate a taxi license, you need to request a taxi license first by the transport department, and that needs to be presented by the chamber. To operate a restaurant also, you need to request a liquor license by the legal department of the collective prior your registration. So again, the chamber has a responsibility of making sure that you have the right qualifications for you to operate your business. Before I go to the other slide, as chamber, we have also a role to accompany businesses within the different cycle of their business life. Before reaching to the part of registration, I want to emphasize on the importance of, before even thinking on what legal form I'm going to choose, how I'm going to register, first take the time to evaluate the viability of your project in order to make sure that it's a profitable project. Once you do that, then you go into depth and writing out your business plan, writing out your financial projection, and then we go into the difficult part, which is choosing the legal form. So I just wanted to put that out there for the new entrepreneurs actually who are probably here and might just want to rush into choosing their legal form. Just take the time to evaluate the viability of your project, of course, writing out your business plan, because it is very much important. Choosing the legal form, that's another step, but you first need to make sure that your business is a viable one. Are you still with me? Yes? All right. So once we did all those steps, we know that our project is viable, we have our business plan, we now need to decide what legal form I am going to choose. Unfortunately, this evening I will not be going into depth of what they all entail because it's a lot of information and I only have 20 minutes this evening, but just going to give you the main information. In the legal forms, you have two types of legal form. You have the natural persons and the legal entities. In the natural persons, we have the sole proprietorship, The sole proprietorship with limited liability. As we all know, of course, when you register as a sole proprietorship, your liability is fully engaged. That was introduced in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. So person who do not want to go into a legal entity registration, they have the possibility of registering in a sole proprietorship and allocate a professional asset that will limit their liability registration. You have the micro-entrepreneur, and that's it for the natural persons. Then in the legal entity, we have the EURL, that's if you're registering limited liability registration, but it's just one, you're a sole shareholder. SARL is if there's more than one. Then we have the SASU and the SAS. The SI is for business that has big operation actually with an important capital, and then we have the SNC. So those are the main ones. You have a lot more, and of course the time does not allow for me to go into depth of those, but you can always come at the chamber to get some advice on the legal forms, and you also have accountants at your disposal. You also have lawyers as well who are at your disposal if you need to get further information. However, I am really going to stress on the choice of your legal form. It is a very important phase. As you know, your legal form, however you choose to register, it can have an impact on your personal status. So it's very much important that you take the time, sit down, whether it's with the chamber, an accountant, or lawyer, to define which one will fit for you. A lot of time when I'm in advisory and I'm counseling meetings, entrepreneurs ask me which one is the best one. And my answer, there isn't a best one. There is one that is going to fit your project, fit your personal situation, and also your marital status, and all that needs to be taken into consideration when you're choosing. So for those persons who are on the Dutch side and would like to register on the French side, those are some of the options that you have at your disposal. I am not going to go into the whole detail. Of course, we know that the French is labeled for a lot of administrative paper, going back and forth, but it's not. It's not, and I'm going to prove that to you. Again, like I said, the chamber is the main registration of your main registration contact. So once you gather all those information, the requirements that we ask you, your business can be registered the day itself. Of course, if you have an appointment, you can get your registration number the same day or maximum 48 hours. Also, once you walk out of our office with your registration receipt, you can start operating. So, like I said, the registration process is very easy. That's why I tell entrepreneurs not to idle on how I'm going to register, and no, that is very much easy, as you can see. If you want to register as under natural person, sole proprietorship, micro-entrepreneur, the documents that are going to be requested from you are documents that you have. I would say, well, the ladies, we have those in our purse every day. We have our ID, our social security number, a non-conviction declaration form, documents related to your marital status, if you are, documents related to assets for limited liability, if you choose the sole proprietorship with limited liability, documents related to business address on the French side. So, I want to just emphasize on that. When for Dutch citizen who would like to register on the French side, you must have an address on the French side. So the options that you have for an address on the French side, if you're residing on the Dutch side, you have, if you're going to have an office, so of course you will provide us with the commercial lease, the contract. If you do not have, you do not need, your activity does not require for you to have an office, you can actually rent an address from businesses who actually have an authorization from the prefecture to do what we call in French domiciliation. So you will be able to rent their address for your business. So it's very much important that information, your address must be, the business address must be on the French side. And also, if you have documents, if your activity is regulated, you will have to provide us with the documents related to that. The registration fee for a natural person is only 92 euros 92, and that is a one-time fee. So in the French system, you do not have annual license system fees, actually. Hello? Yeah, okay, you heard me, I'm not hearing myself. So once you pay this fee, you will not have any other fee to pay to the chamber. The 130 euro fee, that's in the event you have a commercial activity and you also have a trade activity. As mentioned earlier, we manage 3 chambers, so we have so that's 3 registry: commercial, trade, and agriculture. So of course, if you have a commercial activity and a trade activity, you will have to pay an addition 130 euro. Just gonna highlight that as well. When you're registering, you can have multiple activities. You're not limited to just one activity. However, what I advise persons when I'm in counseling meeting, if those activities that you're gonna have, they are related to each other, it is advised that you have all the activities under one business. But if they are not related, it's not advised to do so. Meaning, why it's not? Because in the event one activity is not going well, it's going to drag down the other one with it. However, if you want to still go on with the registration of all the activities under one, we will not refuse that. But of course, it's better just to have separate entities in the event the activities are not related. You're still here with me? All right. Now the requirements for a legal entity. I did not mention that, but I will. And the French system, anyone, doesn't matter your nationality, you can register a business. A lot of time I have persons come in, I have a Dutch passport, can I register on the French side? No matter your nationality, you can register a business on the French side. Now, what is going to determine what you can do in that business is where you live. So for the managing director, of course, if it's a natural person, they will have to provide us with a copy of their valid passport, declaration of certifying of no criminal conviction. So what I mean by valid ID passport, that is valid for all Europeans. Citizen. So Dutch side citizen as well are considered in that. If you're not European, and I like to give specific cases so we understand quickly. Let's say I have a foreigner who lives on the Dutch side and has a residency document from the Dutch side. If his residency is on the Dutch side, he can register a business on the French side. He will just have to provide a document proving that his residency is on the Dutch side. If that foreign person wants to open a business, but his residency address is on the French side, he will have to provide us with the residency permit, for example. So anyone, no matter your nationality, you can register a business. What will determine what you can do in that business is if where your residency is. Is that clear? Yes? No, was that clear? All right, so it means anyone that has a Dutch passport can register a business on the French side. That's what it means. Now, if the managing director is a legal entity, they will have to provide us with a copy of certificate of incorporation. For the business, copy of the signed statutes. The statute needs to be registered by the tax office prior. There are no fees for that. As opposed to the Dutch side, to register a legal entity on the French side of the island, it is not mandatory for you to go through an accountant or notary. If you have the knowledge to write out your statutes, you can do so on your own. However, we do advise, especially if you're going into a partnership, that you get professional advice to edit your statutes to make sure that the right articles are endorsed in order to avoid in the future any incident. So once you write out, you have your statutes, you have them registered, you have to provide a certificate of capital deposit from the bank You will have to provide them, of course, with a proof of origin of fund, copy of the legal notice publication, justification of your address on the French territory, same as for the natural person, documents related to activity if regulated, and the registration fee for a legal entity is €127. Again, that is just a one-time fee. It is not an annual fee. So once you pay that at the chamber, you won't have anything else to pay to the chamber unless you need to come in to do an amendment formality for your registration. And of course, if you have a trade activity, an additional €150 fee for your registration to the trade registry will also be applied for your registration. I'm talking a lot about commercial trade. We also handle, like mentioned, the agricultural formalities as well. The fees are €70 if you're in a sole proprietorship, and if you are in a legal entity, you will have to pay the $127.08 fee as well. Other registration options that you have for persons who have businesses on the Dutch side, you can register a branch on the French side in the event you do not want to go through the whole hassle of opening a new company. What we call a branch is considered as a first establishment of a foreign company. The advantage of doing that, the registration formalities are simple, as you already have your statutes, your constituent statutes. You will just have to translate those in French. It allows you to, your business to be operational quickly, and also in the event that the activity is not operating, the fees to close that branch is cheaper than if you open a legal entity. Just to give you an average of price, if you open a legal entity, it's not working anymore and you have to close it down, you can be close to €2,000, €3,000 just to close it down. So certain times, like I mentioned before you rush into choosing your legal form, take the time to sit down with an accountant, the chamber, or a lawyer to see which legal form will fit you. The inconvenience, though, of opening a branch, you will have two different tax systems, because the business on the Dutch side is going to have the Dutch tax system, and the branch on the French side is going to have the French tax system, and you also will have two separate accountants. For certain companies, it's not a problem, but for certain, it can be a problem. So take the time to evaluate, but you have that option in the event you do not want to go through the whole formalities of opening a new company. I'm not going to go into depth of the tax system, as of course we all know when we're talking about tax, that's very much technical. As mentioned, the chamber is the main registration office. So once you register your business, you're operational, you can start operating, and you do not have any more formalities to do. Once you register by us, we automatically proceed with your affiliation to the tax system. So it's done automatically, your registration to the tax office. The profit tax represents 10% if benefits is lower than 40,000. 20% if it's over 40,000. The sales tax, which is 4%, you can pay that monthly, quarterly, or yearly, all depends of the amount of your sales tax. You also have, that's more for if you're employing persons. The employee wage tax, including unemployment insurance, approximately represents 25% of gross salary. Yes, it is expensive to have employees on the French side. However, the business taxation guide is available online. You have the address here. The slide is also going to be sent to you. If you have, after the presentation, you have any questions pertaining to the tax system, I will try my best to answer them. If not, if I can't answer them, of course, I will be taking your contact information and getting that information for you, of course. Now, the Social Security, Us being the main registration office, you won't have any formalities to do to the Social Security for entrepreneurs, which is the SSE. It's all done via the chamber once your registration is processed. So your affiliation is going to go directly to them. However, your affiliation is done accordingly to your legal form, the amount of shares you have in a limited liability registration, and your residency if you're non-European national as well. For employees, if you would like to employ persons in your business, the formalities have to be done directly by the General Social Security Agency. You can do that online on yourself.fr, or you can just have your accountant proceed with the registration for you. And very much important, again, to promote the economic activity of the French territory. For those who would like to employ persons, you have incentives from the employment agency, Pôle emploi, that are also available for businesses who employs registered job seekers. So again, if you need that information, we also can provide you with that. Now, the funding possibilities, as we know, when opening a business, one of our main concerns is how am I going to get money, how am I going to get funds in order to be able to invest. On the French side, you have several opportunities of fundings. For investment, you have the European funds, which are apply accordingly to different priority areas. You have development of agriculture, you have sustainable development, and there the European funds can match up to 60% of your total investment. You also have BPI, which is a business loan, and with a 1% interest, and they can grant your loan up to $750,000. You have the economic department of the collectivité as well. You have microfinancing, Initiative Sint-Maarten and l'ADI. You have the fiscalization, which give grants particularly for tourism-related activity, and we also have our friends, the banks, as well. Now, for the operations, that is for the employment part, you have the LODEAM, which gives you partial exemption of wage taxes. As I mentioned just now, the percentage of the taxes, 25%, that is definitely something you would want to get if you want to employ persons. Now that I have given you a good amount of information, just remember, I just want you to take this with you. Out of all the information that I gave you, the CCISM is your business partner. The CCISM dynamic team, as mentioned, we will accompany you through your business life cycle, whether it's for your starting up your business expansion, or transition, which can be selling my company to another person, I'm retiring, I want to close down my business. So the services that we provide are, of course, advisory services, consulting services, support services, and recently we launched our training department, our training center, which is going to launch their first training as of next week. So again, the chamber is at your disposal in order to assist you with all of your business life cycle need. So I think this concludes my presentation. I don't know if I past the time. I do hope not. And I'm going to now give back Malaika.
Thank you, Luciana. Very informative indeed. You will be receiving the presentations. As quick as possible, I'm going to translate the Dutch side information, and you'll receive the French side information in English. So we're going to swap things around. Now it's time for Q&A. Are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to ask Mr. Baker to please join us here. Does anybody have any questions? Show of hands. I have two colleagues, Harry and Banicia, who have the microphones. Y a-t-il des questions dans l'Assemblée? I can't see any hands. No? Ben c'est parfait alors. It's perfect. Awesome. Okay, well, that makes my... Oh, there's a question. Harry, can you... So is your question for the French side or the Dutch side?
Good evening. My question is for the French side. I just want to know exactly where the Chamber of Commerce is located.
Oh, wow, wait. There you go. Well, we're actually located in Concordia. I don't like to give direction. What do you know in Concordia? Which office do you know in Concordia? But let's make it easy. You know the tax office, the hospital.
The hospital, yeah.
You know the hospital. Coming from where? You know what the library was? The Mediatek? No. Yes. Yeah. Easy.
Okay. Okay, so that's the address basically there.
Excuse me?
That's the address on the board.
Yes, that's the address here.
No problem.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, then that's perfect. If you dropped your business card in the bowl at the entrance, you will receive the presentation and information from both sides of the, both chambers from both sides. Be sure to follow us on social media. You had a question, ma'am? No? Okay, be sure to follow us on social media. We're both present on Facebook. Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Sint-Maarten. Okay, on the Dutch side, Sint-Maarten on the French side. We are also present on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter. We have a website which is www.ccism.com. Mr. Baker, can you give us, there's a question over here. Okay, Harry, it seems like your side is very active. For the French side or the Dutch side, your question? Okay.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I have a question concerning location of registration and providing consulting services on either side. So if you are registered on the Dutch Sint-Maarten Chamber of Commerce, what are the restrictions and or limitations in providing consultancy services, not business, not opening a business or registering because you're already registered at your chamber, and likewise on the French side if you're registered at the CCISM, what are the requirements or limitation in providing consultancy services, please?
Just to get your question clear, you mean like if you wanted to provide consultancy service to other businesses? Is that the question?
So I'm registered on the French side, for example, and I would like to provide consultancy services to companies on the Dutch part of Sint-Maarten and vice versa, of course. Can any of you answer to that question, please?
Yeah, there's two ways. The first one, I'm not going to mention that one, but the second one, because the first one is just do it, but the second one, which is the main one, is of course register on the Dutch side as in a consultancy service, and then of course then it's a free, it's basically free. When I mean free, is free flow, meaning there is no red tape because you're already registered on the Dutch side as a consultant service, so you can provide service to other businesses on the Dutch side. I'm not sure if exactly that what you're asking.
So you're saying, what I understand, you're actually saying that if I'm already registered on the French side,
on the Dutch side.
No, I'm registered on the French side, and I want to provide consultancy services on the Dutch side. That's not possible?
That is exactly what the presentation was about with regards to a foreign entity with a basically foreign on foreign. So basically that particular slide, you have to go down the steps on that one.
So again, someone in Trinidad is registered in Trinidad. They're a consultant, so they have a service that they would like to provide. They have to then register that service, that free service on the Dutch side to be able to consult.
No,
that's what I want to understand.
Now that you say that example, that's a perfect example. I'm going to just take off the chamber cap for a while and basically go on to another business that I know. Like for instance, businesses would have consultancy, and because it's a short term, they would then the person can just come in and do the consultancy work and then leave. But again, that if it's for a short term. But if you're doing it consistently, we suggest then that you get registered on the Dutch side.
Okay, thank you. And on the French side?
Well, basically, it's the same, yes. If you're operating occasionally, let's say one time All right, we will not. But if it's something that becomes a permanent activity, you will have to register on the French side.
Okay, so my company is consulted for a 2-year project on the Dutch side. Do I then have to register that activity? That's what I'm trying to understand.
I'm going to take off my chamber's hat this time to answer that. In my opinion, it goes accordingly to the activity that you're operating. For consultancy operation, it could come back like we discussed earlier. If a consultancy from Trinidad comes in to work with a client of his on a French side, I don't think he needs to register. He's coming to provide a service for his client. So in my opinion, it would be, you would not need to register. Now let's say tomorrow you want to open an office where therefore you would have to
that I understand.
Yeah.
But I'm just for me, there's a gray area between the duration of time in which your consultancy project or assignment is granted and the necessity to register that activity.
I agree with you that there is gray areas on that.
So if you're saying that it's a continuous thing from month to month, then I understand the registration requirement. But if it's a long-term consultancy program or project or activity, then I'm not sure what you're actually saying to me about the requirement to register that.
As chamber, I would tell you you have to register.
Right.
Yes, because I will not be able to determine what is your occasional activity.
Correct.
Yeah, so as chamber, you would have to register.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
If there are no more questions, we're going to wrap up our Q&A session. On the front side, we are very generous. So, President, I'm going to ask you to do the honors, and I'm going to call President of Chamber of Commerce of the Dutch side, Mr. Benjamin Ortega. It's our birthday, but we are offering gifts. Mr. Ortega, why do you seem stressed? President, for our 10th year anniversary, we created some special 10-year trophies, and we have the honor, I'm going to let you present it to the President of the Dutch Side Chamber.
Thank you, Malaika. Well, Malaika comes up often with ideas. When it's not too expensive, I say yes. And when it's over my budget, I just don't answer. So between me and you, I really did not answer on that one. And I'm seeing that it's here still. So I'm surprised. I'm also the one like, this is a gift. And I'm very surprised because this is the first time that I'm seeing our new 10-year trophy. And you're the first that we're offering this trophy. Thank you, Mr. Ortega.
Kind of speechless, that, again, that doesn't really happen often, right, Malaika? Thank you very much, Madam President, and also Malaika for sneaking this one in. I must say it is extremely beautiful and heavy, so don't drop it, it's very expensive, to say. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to go on to our part because surprises does not only happen on this side, but it also happens on our side. I have here, we and Mr. Baker and myself, we expressly, no, I know you're married already. I don't want to go there. We express wear our honorary pins this evening. And in the start of our collaboration, we hereby would like to also offer you and your staff the honorary pin of the Dutch Side Chamber of Commerce. It's not a... So we are not only colleagues, brothers and sisters, we are now officially members together as presidents and as partners going forward. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that just about wraps up our presentation part. So it's called GUAVABERRY Networking. Now is the time to network. But Luciana, you wanted to add something? All right. I've just informed that Passions Catering would like you to stay seated because they're going to serve your soup to you, okay? And then once you're through with your soup, then you will be able to proceed to the buffets. So please make sure you exchange your business cards, drop them in the bowls at the bowl in the entrance. In this room here, I've seen a lot of different business owners. I've seen lawyers. I've seen specialists in communication. We have lawyers actually from the front side and the Dutch side. I've seen event managers. I'm seeing a bit of everything. We have some consultancy going on. So please feel free to, discuss, network, and enjoy the rest of your evening. On behalf of both chambers, thank you very much. And please remember that we're having a repeat edition on the 8th of November. This is our first GUAVABERRY Networking.